Okay, so if we look at our terms and conditions component now, when we click here, nothing happens, just as we did before. So let's start building it again from the way up. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do, we have to remember you have to set a precondition, or rather you create your mutation observer before actually changes have happened on the target element. All right, so in our case, we'll just say here again, private initialize observer. Okay, then we just say constant observer. Then this mutation observer that we are creating, just accept a list of mutations. All right, and this list of mutations that we are going to be having here, we iterate through each. All right, mutations dot for each. And I don't want to like copy and paste. I just want to type it out so that we can actually have it like stick in our understanding and what you are going to be learning here. So then if mutations mutation dot added node, again, like we can just say, let's do this actually, because it's going to be the same like the other before. So we say like the constant added node, it will be mutation added nodes, and then we get the first element. All right, so if the added node, or rather added nodes here, in this case the class name includes is the last element, and we'll see what this is. Okay, so we come and we say this here at the bottom, we have to create a method for listening for this last element, so this added node, right? So listen for intersection, or rather listen for intersection. We just say listen for intersection, and then target element is an HTML element. It can be any type of element, like a div element, list element, it can be any. Okay, so here we come and we say this added nodes. Okay, and then it's actually added node because it's just one node, so it's not like many nodes, so it's added node. Okay, it is not right. Yeah, that way. So we now start, we disconnect once we have triggered the node, like we then disconnect. Okay, so that part is okay. Let's jump over now to the other part whereby we are saying observer. Okay, dot observe. What are we going to be observing? If you remember, we have to define a target element, this target node. In our case, we already have it here in the HTML, and its name is this. Like, you can call it anything, it's up to you. So we come and we say private, it has to have a decorator, view child, this is the element, and then static is true, private, again it's up to you how you call it, element ref, which is a HTML div element. Okay, so far so good. Right now, the other thing all you need to do, and I believe, let's change the name. Okay, so far so good. So here we come and we say observer will now be observing this, and then the native element. Native element, if you don't know what it is, it gives you the ability to access the actual HTML native element. This will give you an Angular template ref, but this one gives you the underlying, or rather the element that is actually bound to that element ref. So it will give you the HTML, in this case, like we saw a div. All right, so in this case, if we log this, we should see also the same div whereby we are going to be targeting. Okay, the other thing that we need to do is to say what are we going to be observing. Okay, so we have a child list, and then we say true. We want to observe whenever a new element, and that is the new element in this case is this last element. So where does this last element come from? So if you look at our Angular HTML here, we are going to be adding an additional class for the last entry in the list of verses. Yeah, so in these conditions that have been provided, we have the ability to check if the last index has been reached, then we give this element a class of its last element. All right, but the other elements, they will not have this class, they'll just have an empty. All right, so I believe that is clear. Then the other thing all we need to do now is to start now making our intersection observer. So let's actually, before we continue, let's log that and we see what it is, right? So still nothing. So why don't we have anything being triggered? I believe we didn't now start like observing. We didn't initialize the observer, so we can actually initialize the observer here at the top, whereby we are actually toggling, like the moment we click like this toggling, like that's when we need to reinitialize it. So like that, we initialize the observer, and then this should hopefully now work as expected. So let's see. Okay, let's reload. All right, so there's an error. So why do we have an error? And the error is that cannot read properties of undefined. All right, so initialize observe. Okay, the reason is because remember we have change detection as on push, so we have to show the terms and conditions first before we can actually access it, because it's behind an ng if. Yeah, it's inside here. So we set the show terms and conditions to true. In this case, like we come and we call the change detectors, and then we come and we add our observer, then we say the data that you are going to be observing. All right, so if we do that now, it should give us another error. So why are we getting this other error? Okay, the reason we are getting this error, I believe, is because we have set this part as true, whereas it's not immediately visible. So we set it as false, and then we will see. Yeah, so it should be okay now, and I believe we have now our target element. Okay, so that is good. So like that is really good. So it's actually being persisted. Okay, so let's continue now to the other part of creating our intersection observer. And then we say observer, and you recall intersection observer. Again, I encourage you to type these things out so that you can get to actually understand them. Yeah, and then it will have entries. Okay, and then these entries, we are going to just say if if entry 0 is intersecting, okay, then we have to say like the user has read equals to true. All right, then we trigger the common change detector so that it can actually call the change detection for Angular. The other thing we are going to do is that we are going to say the threshold and also the root. Okay, the root in our case will be this wrapper that we already have here. All right, and then the threshold will be a threshold of, we want it to be fully visible. Okay, and then we save that. Then the other thing we are going to say is simply observer dot observe, and that should be it. Then what you are going to be observing is target element whenever it actually gets to intersect with the parent, and then after it intersects, like we don't want to be listening anymore, observer dot disconnect. Okay, so let's test this out. We come here, we click that, we go there, it's okay. Then once it observes, we can close, we come back, it's already accepted. I believe that's it. So you see how easy it was for us to actually implement terms and conditions, whereby the user has to scroll all the way to the bottom so that the section can be triggered. And again, the users can reload the page, they can decide, let me reload the page, and then once again they have to go through them, but once they accept them, it's okay. So I think that's it. Let's see if there is something that you can actually add or change on this one. Okay, I think it's pretty much done. So I believe we learned how to implement your own infinite scroll with this simple application that we have here, and also how to implement the scroll to terms and conditions like that. So let me know if you have any questions, if you have any comments, or if you didn't understand anything. Just let me know, and I'm more than happy to walk you through any questions that you may have. So until the next one, always remember, you stop growing the moment you stop learning, and whatever you have learned, go further and teach others as well, so that you may grow together.